And we start tonight's show with snow squalls across the bi-state. Our photojournalist captured this video earlier tonight in U City. The snow's over, but the bitter cold has just begun. Thanks so much for joining us at 10 on this frigid Friday night. I'm Kelly Jackson. We have team coverage tonight to help you navigate the dangerously cold weekend ahead. Let's start with meteorologist Lance Blocker with what we can expect this weekend, Lance.
Very cold weather and jacket weather, hat, gloves, anything you can grab for this weekend. It's not too bad right now, but we did have those scattered snow showers move across our area. Actually, some snow squall warnings off to the northwest of us, actually north of Columbia, but still, we still had some nice little light snow showers, some flurries that moved across the area. No real accumulations for us. We didn't expect any, but the bigger story, that's the cold air. The cold front has moved through. Watch as our temperatures took a big dive over the last hour or so down to the lower 30s across the area as that colder air filters into our region. That will actually be warm compared to where we're headed this weekend. Saturday, at least, not getting out of the 20s. Sunday morning, near 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That means we could have wind chill values into the negative territory for a few locations. We'll go over that in detail here in just a little bit, but just as a reminder, of course, you want those extra layers. And as always, make sure your pets are well protected and safe during the cold blast this weekend. We do warm up next week, relatively speaking. We'll go over that in detail in your main weather in about 10 minutes.
Well, St. Louis area shelters are busy tonight, helping those who don't have a place to call home survive the cold temps. 5 on your side's Robert Townsend continues our team coverage with a look at how the team at Peter and Paul Community Services is answering the call.
Temperatures are expected to fall dramatically this weekend.
We're operating as the hub for all the agencies.
And that's why Kevin Major and his team at this Peter and Paul shelter north of downtown are already gearing up to help unhoused men, women, children, and families survive the potentially dangerous cold weather.
I'm expecting us to be full by 10:30, 11 o'clock this evening.
The St. Louis-based charity will have 6 shelters opened around the clock for people in need. A total of 450 beds will be available. So far this winter, many of the people Peter and Paul are serving are folks who lost their homes during the May 16th tornado.
And we do see quite a few people that have not been able to secure housing since the May 16th tornado. Definitely chronic homeless people.
Caller vans like the one you see here will also be on the go, picking up people on the city's north and south sides and in the Central West End area. Of course, the big goal is just get them out of the dangerous cold.
We're trying to have places open 24/7 to keep people from having to experience any type of weather-related injuries.
They getting a hot meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Tamia West enjoys preparing and serving the meals to those in need.
I love to help them out. I know everybody is going through a lot right now, so it's good to help out people.
People who can count on this dedicated team.
We're here for all of them.
Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
And we have more information about warming shelters across our region right now on KSDK.com. We can also send it to your phone. Just text warming to 314-425-5355 for a link. Well, right now, the city of St. Louis is planning to take control of properties that have been long abandoned near the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Just 24 hours ago, the city announced plans to pursue eminent domain in court. Tonight, Justina Coronel has learned more about this year's long battle. She's in studio with Reaction. Justina.
Well, this has been a long battle, like you mentioned, but a lot has happened in the last 24 hours. We've learned the city and the St. Louis Development Corporation are pushing to acquire 89 blight properties in North St. Louis. Now, most of these are owned by one developer, Paul McKee. Now, the developer's bank lender and the city are now going head to head. What's the price tag on these properties?
Just had my 23rd anniversary in the fabulous 14th Ward.
Brian Kruger has shown his loyalty to the St. Louis Place neighborhood.
With the NGA, and you can see those blue lights, that's the NGA. I mean, we're that close.
With the newly opened NGA in sight, development around here has hardly been visible.
You'll see those open lots up there, and there's a couple of open lots down there that Northside had control of. And they just sat and sat and sat.
More than 20 years ago, Kruger envisioned this area differently.
I would say almost about 2 decades ago, roughly about 19, 20 years ago, Paul McKee started to buy up a lot of properties in North St. Louis.
Developer Paul McKee promising change through the North Side Regeneration Project. Yet neighbors like Kruger never saw much. That's why Alderman Rasheen Aldridge filed Board Bill 174 to get these properties back.
I think we got here because the city of St. Louis put a lot of faith in the individuals that they thought was going to save North St. Louis.
Now the city plans to seize the land.
It is our full intention to utilize eminent domain as a tool for reinvestment.
Negotiations were happening before this eminent domain decision. In this letter the St. Louis Development Corporation sent, we've learned the developer's bank lender was asking for $116 million, and they called it extreme, and no negotiation would be realistic. The bank and Northside Regeneration's attorney fought back, saying an independent firm quoted the 229 acres were worth more than $100 million. The attorney added the city was wanting the property for $20 million. Until the court battle, neighbors like Kruger wait patiently and hope some loyalty can be returned.
I think it's moving in the right direction. I really sincerely do, and I could be the internal optimist, could be, but it seems to be moving in the right direction.
Now here's what happens next. St. Louis Development Corporation's land clearance for redevelopment plans to file a petition to acquire those properties in St. Louis Circuit Court in the next few weeks. However, Alderman Aldridge pointed out this won't happen overnight. This process will take some time.
Thanks, Justina. Well, hours ago, developers announced plans to try and put a data center at the Armory again. Our partners at the St. Louis Business Journal say the $3 billion plan would create a technology district at the Armory. The developers' first plans face criticism from St. Louis city residents over environmental impacts. Instead of placing a data center in the shuttered entertainment venue, this plan would put one in a warehouse near it. The plan would redevelop the Armory building into office space. Developers say this project could bring millions in tax dollars to the city. Tonight, police in St. Charles need your help finding whoever stole more than $15,000 worth of vases from a cemetery. It happened at the St. Charles Memorial Garden Cemetery on West Clay Street. The cemetery told police they believe they were stolen yesterday. Anyone with information is asked to call police, and you may be eligible for a cash reward. Today, the final suspect charged in the death of a 13-year-old Alton girl was found guilty of several charges, including first-degree murder. Hours ago, a Madison County judge announced the guilty verdict against Keith Sanders. Prosecutors say Sanders was the, quote, shot caller in the deadly shooting that killed Renaya Stewart in 2024. They argued Sanders instructed 2 teenage gunmen to target members of a rival gang, and 13-year-old Stewart was caught in the crossfire. Sanders will be sentenced later this year and could face up to 75 years in prison.
For too long, we have been shutting doors for Illinoisans that are coming home from incarceration. Nonviolent offenders trying to properly re-enter society.
Tonight, Illinois is now one of 13 states with a clean slate law on the books. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed it into law earlier today. It automatically seals eligible misdemeanor and nonviolent felony convictions after a waiting period with good behavior. Violent crimes like sex offenses, domestic battery, DUI, and other serious crimes are excluded. Sealed records stay accessible to law enforcement, prosecutors, and courts. However, they won't be visible to private background check companies or most employers. Supporters say around 2 million people will be eligible under the new law, and critics argue the real test will be accuracy and enforcement. The state's first automatic record sealing is expected to happen in 2029. Tonight, another St. Louis area restaurant is closing its doors after 9 years of business. Hours ago, Truck Norris announced its brick and mortar location is shutting down. The news comes months after a devastating crash destroyed its food truck last year. On social media, the owners announced, quote, "This was not a decision we ever wanted to make, and it has been one of the hardest moments of our lives. Our last day of service will be January 24th. As flu season ramps up, local doctors push back on new CDC vaccine advice. Why experts say your doctor's input is more critical than ever. Tonight, St. Louis doctors want you to know the flu vaccine is safe and effective. It comes as the Centers for Disease Control rolled back its recommendations about the shot from universal approval to now asking patients to consult their doctors. St. Louis County leaders voiced their concerns about the new guidelines during a news conference addressing flu levels in our area. They say the change is not rooted in science and emphasize the importance of vaccines to prevent infections. Meanwhile, other area leaders are taking a more nuanced approach.
The safety of these vaccines have not changed. They have been rigorously tested and have been affirmed through decades of scientific work and real-world use.
So when you see your physician, he or she is going to make recommendations for you and your children about what vaccines to get. And in Illinois, we're going to encourage you to listen to your doctor.
The Department of Public Health says it's not too late to get a flu vaccine. They offer walk-in hours with no appointment needed. And in most cases, they say the vaccine is free. We have a special streaming right now about flu cases surging across the country. Download our app for free, scan the QR code on your screen, or search KSDK in the App Store. All right, let's check in once again with meteorologist Lance Blocker. We are under a weather impact alert for the weekend, dangerously cold temperatures.
Yeah, but we did have some snow tonight. That was
Yes.
kind of fun, right, Kelly?
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was nice because it didn't have any travel impacts on our area, so we're happy about that. All right, right now, again, it is nice and quiet across the area. Checking out the radar, pretty much all clear. A few light flurries in a few isolated locations. Otherwise, that drier air will continue to filter in because of this cold front. This is the 24-hour temperature change. So from this point yesterday to today, you see the front's really draped right across our area. That's not bad right behind it. Check this out. Much colder air, though. That is on the way. That is Arctic cold air. It will arrive here for this weekend. You will certainly feel it tomorrow afternoon. High temperatures in the low to mid 20s. We'll have mostly cloudy to overcast skies, maybe an isolated flurry or two, but again, no snow showers. We do that weather impact alert going into effect for us tomorrow night on and through Sunday morning, and this is the reason why. The temperatures will drop down to the single digits in many locations. You factor in the wind, it's going to feel even colder than that. This is starting tomorrow afternoon in the early evening. Feels like temperatures around 15 degrees as we move through the overnight hours. 6:15 in the morning on Sunday, right around zero, up to about 6 degrees Crystal City. The rest of us around zero, certainly single digits for us across the area. And then we warm back up to about 15 degrees. Again, feels like temperature as we get in the afternoon hours on Sunday. That'll lift the weather impact alert. But we'll keep that in effect for us for Saturday night and Sunday morning. Again, the bitter cold temperatures stick around for about 12 hours or so. Wind chill values around zero, of course, extra layers, but always want to briefly remind you to make sure your pets are well protected during that surge of cold air. And any of them that get their water outside in water bowls, it's going to stay frozen. I can promise you that. So make sure they're well hydrated elsewhere. We warm back up to the mid 30s on Sunday briefly. Don't get used to it. We're headed back to the mid 20s on Monday. Then next week, shorts weather arrives. Tuesday, low 40s. Upper 40s on Wednesday. So I know I'm saying that in jest a little bit, but it certainly will feel much better than what we have tomorrow through Monday. Let's look at that in detail now with your 7-day forecast. We stay pretty much precipitation free, which is probably a good thing, as on account of we'd probably have more snow if we weren't precipitation free. We do have a few isolated flurries tomorrow. No big deal. Obviously no impacts on any roads or anything like that. Mid 30s for Sunday. MLK Day Monday, some clouds depart. The temperatures stay cold, low to mid 20s. We warm up next week briefly.
Briefly.
It's still January. I mean, this is what we get.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Lance. Thanks so much for joining us. Here's Corey Miller and Zach Barnes with 5 on your sideline.